Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Don Gulling, CEO of Verteks Consulting. Thank you for joining us today for our reoccurring monthly Mitel training webinar. So I want to start with a review of Connect Client and some of the power features. The first thing I want to talk about is the Connect Client and call handling modes. So on my screen here, I've got the Connect Client, and right at the top, there's my picture, and there's a drop box that says I'm available. Now, call handling modes can be pre-configured to allow you to set available, any meeting, out of office, on vacation, do not disturb, and custom, so that your phone will behave exactly the way you like whenever that mode is triggered. These modes can be changed from your Connect client by clicking this and choosing the option. They can also be changed from your telephone. So right on your phone, depending on which model you'll have a call handling mode button, and you can toggle it right there. I'm currently set to available, which means that when someone calls me, my phone will ring, and I'll get a caller ID pop up, and I can answer the call. I can also change it to in a meeting. Since we're in a webinar, now my call will work differently. If someone calls me, it'll go to my voicemail. Where do you set that up? I'll tell you where. Right here into this settings wheel. Under settings, there's an option for call routing. And this is where you choose all the different call handling mode options you have. Available in a meeting, out of office, and so on. Still right there. So I changed it to in a meeting. What does that look like for me? For me, in a meeting mode, calls still go to my desk phone. No other calls ring simultaneously. Incoming calls are routed immediately to my voicemail. And I have a custom greeting. Callers can leave a message. If they press 0, it gives them an out to go into support. So what does that greeting sound like? I'm going to click on this record button, and it pulls up a context window that lets me hear what my greeting sounds like. So I'm going to choose playback from my phone, so hopefully you can hear it. I'll turn it up a little bit. All right, let's hit play. That was through my speakers, so I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'll put it through my phone. In a meeting with a client. My team is ready to help you right away if needed. To reach someone at Verteks immediately, press 0. For urgent issues, you can also ask to escalate your concerns to my service manager, Paul Violet. So there you have it. That's what my recorded greeting sounds like for in a meeting. So keep in mind, for each call handling mode, you can have a custom audio greeting. You can have custom simul rings. You can have the custom number of rings before it goes to voicemail. And you can have a custom 0 option that sends it exactly where you like. So call handling mode is super powerful. The last thing I want to show you here is a seldom used but somewhat interesting way to manage your call handling mode, and that's with Outlook integration. So again, I click the settings wheel. I click on Outlook. When I go to this tab, and you can have Outlook on your desktop, you can use Office 365. I'm using 365, it works great with it. I have an option at the top here that says sync my Exchange calendar with Mitel Connect availability modes. When you check that box, what will happen is Mitel will automatically change your availability if you're booked meetings to in a meeting, and when you're out of office to out of office. Do not disturb vacation custom modes will always take precedence and will not be affected. What that means is, let's say I go on a vacation for the week of Independence Day, July 4th, and I change my call handling mode manually to vacation. No matter what my calendar says, it will not change the mode back to anything else. It'll leave it in vacation mode. Same for do not disturb or custom. However, if I'm not in vacation, custom, or do not disturb, throughout the day, my phone will automatically change from available to any meeting to out of office without me intervening through Outlook integration. Personally, I do not use this option. The reason is because I have a lot of recurring meetings, and for that reason, it could just change, all the time. So I leave that unchecked, but a lot of our clients use it, and that's a great way to kind of automate that workflow process. So in a nutshell, that is call handling modes and what you need to know about call handling modes. I'd like to talk to you about Quick Dialer. So in front of us, I've got the Connect client, and right at the top, you'll see a gray box that says name or number. That's a Quick Dialer. If I check in that, tap in that box, it pulls out my Quick Dialer, and this is a integrated list of all of my internal and external contacts. One thing I did was I turned on Outlook integration for contact sync. So all my Outlook contacts are in here in addition to all my Mitel contacts. So what does that look like? Let me type up my wife's name here. So it's going to pull up Michelle Going and show me, believe it or not, I actually tried this right before the demo started. And I think I turned off Outlook integration like an idiot. So unfortunately, the Outlook contacts aren't in there. That's my bad. But let's put somebody else in. Let's say if I do an internal contact, Mike DuFilly, we'll see his cell phone number here. We'll also see we've got Mike Fowler here. You can click to dial. And when I do that, it'll just pick up the phone and dial those folks. Additionally, in addition to Quick Dialer, I've also got contacts. The difference is this. The Quick Dialer is all of my contacts across all methods, Outlook and internal. My contacts is what's formerly known as buddies back in the old 14.2 days. So people only show up in here once you check them with a star. So if I go here to, let's choose Cheryl. So one of our team members here is Cheryl Campbell, and you see she's got a star check beside her. But I've also got one here for Cheryl Stanley, client. These are just external numbers. I click the star for Cheryl Stanley, and now Cheryl Stanley also shows up in my contacts list, which is essentially my favorites. If I uncheck Cheryl, now she's no longer in contacts, but she's still in my Quick Dialer. And there she is. So the Quick Dialer, again, is a combination of your Outlook contacts and your internal contacts. And to take somebody from your Quick Dialer and put them into your buddies list or your contacts list, you just click the star, and that puts them on your favorites. Now let's pivot back over to contacts briefly. When you're in the Contacts tab, you've got some options. You have a list of favorites, which is everyone that's in your contacts list. They're all favorites. And you also have groups. Now, groups are yours to create and organize any way you see fit. As an example, I have a group called Sales Team. Here's all the people I put in the sales team. If I want to add somebody to it, I can edit it simply by clicking here and click on the pencil icon. It says Edit Group. And here's all my group members. So I want to put Cheryl in there, Campbell, there she is. And let's say I want to take Trey out. So what I've done is I've edited the sales team to add Cheryl and remove Trey. I hit save, and now my sales team favorites is automatically updated, just like that. One thing that's nice about this, in addition to being able to name these groups and organize them any way I like, is I can also start group chats. This is a seldom used feature, but very cool. You click on the group, I hit start chat, and everyone in that group will be in that chat. So let's go to the sales team group instead and do a start chat. I type, hey, everybody. And so now Matt, Cheryl, Derek, Ryan, Brittany, they're all going to get this hey, everybody chat. So that's a great way to use contact groups to launch group chats and collaboration. Matt just sent me a reply back there, said, hello. So I know Matt's at the desk. So that's contact groups. Easy to set up and manage and very flexible.
one last thing I want to say about contact groups. You can change the look of these by choosing to sort differently. You can sort by last name, first name, availability, and so on. A really popular way to do it is this last contact. And what that does is it puts the people you talk to most frequently at the top of the list. So on the sales team, it's got Brittany at the top of the list because I just talked to her before the webinar began. It's got Matt right after that because I spoke to Matt right before I spoke to Brittany this morning. So it's nice to have that. That'll update itself throughout the day as you place and receive calls to always have the people that you talked to most recently at the top. So I really like that view. Another option you've got in here is to change it to sort by first or last name if that works better for you. So that's contact favorites and contact groups. What goes for groups also goes for favorites. We get the same options in terms of some sort order and some display order. Sort and display order can be changed. Last name, first name, last contact, you get it. So those are the contact options. Briefly on Outlook integration, I want to mention something that has come up before, and that is that buddies list. So as you see in here, I have turned on my sync Outlook contacts checkbox. What that means is when I launch the Connect client and my Outlook is running, it will sync the contacts for me. They will be inside my quick dialer. But there's a limit. There's a built-in limit to how many contacts it will sync unless you change it. So I'm going to pivot over here to the Mitel Connect director briefly. And what I want to show you in here is under the wrench, under users, class of service, telephony features permissions. In here, like let's look at my group. I've got my own group. Right at the top, there's an option that says max buddies per user. Max buddies per user equates to this. These are considered the buddies. That's the buddy list. There's another one that says max private contacts. Mine's set to 4,000. It can go up to 10,000 max. That max private contacts is the Outlook sync. So when I go to Quick Dialer and I type in an Outlook contact instead, and there's my wife, Michelle, going because it synced it, it'll bring up over 4,000 Outlook contacts. That's the max it will synchronize. So if you turn on Outlook integration or a user turns it on, and that user says, hey, there's people that aren't integrated, they're not synced, we need to go into Connect Director, go to Class of Service, find the class of service for that user, and check their max private contacts to make sure they've got that number large enough to sync all their Outlook contacts. That's come up before, so I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to show you that. So let's pivot back to the Connect client. And I want to talk about recent. This is something I use myself all the time. When you click on recent, as you're probably aware, we have an all and we have a missed calls. On a missed calls, this is I know, a weird looking one. It says copy of Don Gulling, but I've got a second phone on my desk so that I can do demos and things like this. It's literally sitting right beside my primary phone. I missed a call from it at 8:54 a.m. this morning because I left myself the test voicemail, which we'll get into in a minute. But if I wanted to call that phone back, literally just click, and it gives me the option. It also shows me a detailed call history for all my interactions with that phone number. This one goes way back to March. So about 90 days of data in there. If I want to call, I click, it dials the phone. Now you see my phone call, my copy phone. So that's recent. So what I want to show you here, and what I want to focus on is you've got a call history, not only of when they called you, but also of how many times they've called you in the past. So let me jump down here to William De Laurentiis. William's on our support team. He called me on the 11th at 9:30 a.m. I missed it, but I can also look at all the times he's called me in the past. If I want, I can look at just the missed calls I've had from William. So a lot of flexibility there. Another question I get asked frequently is, someone says they called you, couldn't reach you. I actually had this happen for homeowners insurance. Believe it or not, they had a homeowner insurance renewal for my house. They said they had to do an inspection, but we weren't available, and they tried to call me multiple times and never reached me. That was what they had said. What number did you dial? They gave me the direct number to my desk. I'm like, okay, I haven't missed a call. I went and looked at my history. I haven't missed it. I went to the all, and I did an export, and I pulled up all that call data for a month, and then I emailed it to them and said, hey, I checked there. Here's my call history, and I missed nothing. So I'm going to pull this up real quick and let you see what it looks like. This is what happens when you export your call history to Excel. It pulls up like this. Let me just filter it real quick. And now you can see I can do a sort and filter. And I can look for every time I had an incoming call, right? Or a missed call, either one. And the number contained, let's say, 1929. That's the last four of my wife's cell phone. Well, she hasn't called my direct at all because she calls my cell. So let's pick a different one. Let's pick contains 9076. One call from that number. So a really kind of down and dirty way, easy way for users to get their own call data without coming to you for a report. So just in summary, under the recent tab, right at the top here, there's like a shadow gray icon, export call data. You click that for up to a month. The user can do it, export their call data. And then just to recap, if I want to get a call history, like for Matt and I click him, and I can see every call I've had to Matt and I. This one goes back. You can see months and months and months of calls to Matt, incoming, outgoing, and missed. I can filter it and just show the missed calls from Matt. So great ways to go back and look to see, hey, when is it that I talked to him or her, and also to share that data with others if you need to. I want to go to voicemails, and I want to talk about them, and I want to give you some options of voicemails that maybe you aren't familiar with. I click on the voicemails tab, and right at the top, you'll see I've got an unheard voicemail in here from my backup phone, right? Let me click on that, and I can play it back from either my desk phone or from my computer speakers. So I'm going to leave it on desk phone and hit play.
Hi, good morning. This is Don Gulling, leaving a test voicemail with a Mitel training session for June 16th. Wanted to show some voicemail playback options and reply options so that we can do some testing. Have a great day.
So that's the voicemail I left. Now you can see it's marked played. Since it's an internal caller, I've got a lot of options. I can forward this to somebody else inside the organization. Let me send it to Matt and I. I can record a buffer message, and then Matt will get that buffer message. Let's do that. Hey, Matt. Hi, Matt. This is Don. I wanted to get you this voicemail so you can reply to it. Please get back to them as soon as you can. Thanks, bud. So that's the buffer message. It's about 10 seconds long. I can mark it urgent, and I can ask for a receipt. Click send. Matt's going to get that voicemail. Matt's going to be able to listen to it and reply. So a lot of cool options there in voicemail that you might not be as familiar with. One last thing I want to show you, this one's a little trickier, is deleted messages. So under deleted messages, you'll see one here from Toronto, Ontario. Deleted messages will stay in there for 1 day, and then overnight, they're purged. So you cannot store messages in there long term like you can in some cell phones and other places. If a user deletes a message, please remember, it's gone overnight and it's really hard to get it back. The only way to get it back would be to essentially restore a copy of the whole voicemail database, extract it, so it's really challenging. We recommend people do not delete messages if they want to keep them. So that's voicemails. Messages. I kind of showed you earlier where I had done a group message, right? Here's my group message that I sent to the sales group. Matt replied, Derek replied, Ryan replied. So that's what messages look like. But I can also create and send new messages. So what kind of messages can you send? Well, really anything you want. Let me send one to, let's pick Ryan, pick on him. And then right here, I can see my conversation with Ryan, all the texts I've had back and forth with him. And I can ask him, did you complete the order for the support plan renewal for Jeep? We got a support plan renewal for Jeep. Ryan was going to place the order, and I can send him a message and say, hey, did you get that done? Also in here, I do have some kind of, they try to make it a little fun. It's not a lot of options, but you got some icons in here you can use. I don't use them a lot, but sometimes I'll put one in there if I'm feeling frisky. You can also send links. This is a really popular thing to do. Let's say I want to let Ryan know about our upcoming events page. I can copy that, Control-C, go back to my Mitel window, click it, and now Ryan will have it right there in his window. Frequently when I'm sending people, links to documents internally, or I'm sending them other resources, I'll paste it right there so they've got it right at the tip of their fingers. So that's really helpful. So in messages, remember, you've got not only the ability to message an individual person like we're doing with Ryan here, but you can also go to a group, and then from a group, you can send a message to that entire group. Like here's the help desk. I can start a chat, and then everybody's getting that same chat. So that's our messages options. Events. What are events? Events are a way for you to synchronize Outlook or not and have your calendar or your other events listed in here so you can easily join conference bridges, get reminders, and so on. So what I want to show you is two things. First, I want to talk to you about Outlook synchronization. In that settings that we pulled up in here, under the wheel, under Outlook, when I turn on this sync my Outlook contacts, right, that's going to allow me to have the ability to have my synced events as well. When I click on events, it's going to show me what's in my Outlook calendar and events that I create. As an example, right now we're on this Mitel monthly webinar at 10 o'clock. You can see I've got a call at 11 as well. And I have another one at 2 on Bright Metrics. I could click on this one, and you can see right here I've got the ability to join. I've also got all the meeting notes. This was sent via Outlook to me. I accepted. What I want to show you, though, is a neat way for you to use this internally for an internal webinar or internal conference with an agenda. So I'm going to create a new event. Let's call this one Connect Training Annual Planning. And I want to meet next week, let's say with Brittany. So I'm going to choose the 22nd at 11 a.m. It's going to last 1 hour. And I'm going to choose a location of Don's office. And I'm going to put attendees in here, organizers and presenters. Let's make a presenter of Brittany. See, she's right there. And I'm going to create an agenda. first agenda item I'm going to put on here, review annual schedule. I'm going to put in here 30 minutes. Then I'm going to discuss topics, 45 minutes. And it tells me, hey, you're over by 15 because it was only an hour and I've already scheduled for an hour and 15. So let me make this 15 minutes. Then I'm going to come down here and update website, 15. Now we're on full hour. I can put notes in the overview. Then I can create that meeting, or there's a couple other tweaky settings. You can have people announce by playing an audio tone, or you can have them to record their name so when they join, it's got their name. You can also decide if you want to mute them on entry or let people see who else is on there. So that's how you create an internal meeting. I'm going to discard because we're not actually meeting that day. So moving past events and going into the call routing wizard. This is something I get asked about frequently. What is the call routing wizard? How does it work? The call routing wizard is a way for you or your people to kind of quickly get a step-by-step walkthrough to change their availability state and how it works. So how do you access it? You can either come up here and go to settings, or you can click on yourself and click the gear. Your choice, same place. I go to the call routing wizard and I can do a step-by-step route. So I'm going to go to my custom mode and I'm going to do a new step-by-step wizard. Click start. First thing it says, on an incoming call, ring my extension and also simultaneously ring these numbers. So I'm going to choose my cell. Actually, I got that in there already predefined. So I'm going to choose Connect Mobile Client. Next step. If I'm not picking up on my incoming call at my extension, either keep ringing it or forward the call or send it to voicemail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it go to my voicemail after 4 rings. Next, what greeting do I want to have? I can click here, change the custom call recording greeting. Super easy to do. I'm going to do it right now. Hi, this is Don Gulling. You've reached my cell phone. Sorry I'm away from the office. Leave a message. I'll call you back as soon as I can. I'm going to discard that because I had a brain glitch. I'm not on my cell phone on my desk. Let's record it again. Hi, this is Don Gulling. Please leave a message after the tone. I'll be notified and call you back as soon as possible. If you need to speak to someone at Verteks immediately, press 0 and your call will be sent to the help desk. Thanks for calling. So now I can click Save Recording. Next step. Are callers allowed to leave a voicemail after hearing your greeting? Yes, they are. Why would you change that? Well, sometimes if you're on vacation or custom or you're in a doctor's appointment or doing something with your kids, who knows what, maybe you don't want to have voicemails pile up. In that case, you can make it an announcement only. For example, I had someone had a family tragedy and was out on bereavement leave. And for that reason, they decided that they were going to have the greeting say, you know, I'll be out and unable to take voicemails. In my absence, I ask that you please contact my assistant and then press 0 to reach them now. And that was it. They couldn't leave a message. So that's the step-by-step of custom. I've gone all the way through it. Now I can click on Save. And the wizard has walked me through from beginning to end all the options in the custom call handling mode. It's configured and ready to go. I want to show you something else in here, though, that's really cool. And that's a voicemail escalation profile. What is a voicemail escalation profile? Voicemail escalation is a way for you to have your Mitel system call you or email you when you get new voicemails or if they're marked urgent. So I'm going to create a new escalation profile. And it's right here under voicemail escalation. It says this option setting will apply to all voicemail escalation profiles you add below. So I can either notify for my first unheard message, meaning I got a new voicemail, let me know, or for every single call. I'm going to leave it for every single call, and I'm going to add a new profile. I'm going to call this one urgent messages. I'm not going to repeat it. It's only going to do it once. I'm going to have it send an email notification. This is my email address. And I'm going to have it attach a WAV file of it. I know I can get voicemail all kinds of ways. This might be a little quicker because I can play it wherever I'm at. I also wanted to send phone notifications, and I'm going to put in my cell phone. There's a timeout setting. Here's what that does. When you add a voicemail escalation profile, the Mitel system will email, in this case, attach a WAV file, and call me on my cell phone. I have to then dial into the system and listen to the message on the Mitel system, or it's going to call me again. That's what the timeout is. Lastly, there's a checkbox here for notify for urgent voicemails only. Now, this is something you can use as kind of a hidden option just for your internal team members or people that you work with a lot. So when I turn on this notify for urgent messages only, what that's going to do is I can signal to my friends, hey, if you leave me a voicemail and you mark it urgent, it'll alert me. Maybe you're on a vacation mode and you're telling customers you can't be reached for a week. Reality is, if it's an emergency, you can be reached on a callback basis. So maybe on your vacation mode, you set up an escalation profile, you check notify for urgent voicemails only, and then people that know you and know that's set up, when they leave you a message and they need to be called back, they hit pound at the end, they mark it as urgent, and those folks will, their calls will get through, it'll call you, and then you'll be able to call them back. So that's an escalation profile. You can also have other ones for different purposes. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to go to my call routing, go to custom, go to my escalation profiles, and I'm going to apply this profile, escalation profile, to this call routing mode. So now when I'm in custom mode, if someone left me a voicemail and marked it as urgent, it will then call my cell phone and remind me every 10 minutes until I check the voicemail. So that's a call availability routing and escalation profiles. Just a quick reminder, we are checking the chat and the questions as we go along. So if you've got specific topics you'd like to cover, or if you want me to backtrack and go over something in more detail, you can put it either in the chat window or in the questions window, your choice. So I just saved that option. And that's everything I want to show you in the Connect client. I want to pivot over to the director, Connect director. I want to show you some things in there that we've been asked about frequently before. So here I am in Mitel Connect director. Let me minimize everything and pull it up and make it look like what it looks like when you first log in. So if you have a login to the Connect director, this is what it looks like when you first log in. Right at the top, you have kind of green, yellow, red buttons here, letting you know the status of all your different systems. This is something we're monitoring for you if you have support from us, so we'll keep an eye on that. But if you want to look at it, it's right there. I have a red alert here, an error on hybrid, and I know that because we just recently disconnected to connect to a new Mitel service, so my hybrid alert is not a surprise. and I'm going to go ahead and clear that alert. Once I do that, it all goes back to green. So back to the dashboard. That's what it's going to look like when you first log in. You'll be in your dashboard. I want to talk to you about class of service. The reason I bring this up is frequently we'll get a phone call or an email, and a client will ask us, hey, I got something that works for this person but doesn't work for another one, kind of why is that? Or like I referenced earlier about Outlook contacts. In the Outlook contact world, hey, my team member turned on to sync Outlook contacts, but only half his contacts are there. Why is that? Well, all those things are in class of service. So let's talk about that. I go over to the wrench, users, class of service. You'll see in here there's 3 different types: telephony features, call permissions, and voicemail permissions. Under telephony permissions, you're going to see all your telephony permissions groups. So you have multiple groups for multiple types of folks. Keep in mind that you're going to be able to work with us or your admin to set these up any way you like. Typically what happens is you have just a couple of them. Partially featured, minimally featured, and fully featured are the defaults. Those come preloaded in Mitel. So let's go to fully featured and see what's preloaded in Mitel. Down at the bottom is where all the options are. I'm going to expand this window. So now it's taking up the whole window. And you can see all of the telephony features for the fully featured group. That's the name of it, the call stack depth, the max buddies per user, which I told you correlates to favorites, the max private contacts, which correlates to Outlook contacts, and also the max parties in a Make Me conference if they're using Make Me conferences. The rest of them are all checkboxes. You can have these on or off. Most of these are very self-explanatory and don't really require much exploration. But I do want to talk about one of them, and that's this show call history. There's a checkbox here to allow or disallow people to see their call history. Why would you want that? I'll give you an example. Let's say you've got a lobby phone or a phone in a break room, and it's a shared common purpose room phone. Maybe you don't want the next person to see who the last person called or what number they dialed. A prime example would be, we've seen this in a lot of reception areas. Due to COVID, offices are reopening, yet they've got a phone up front. They want you to use the phone to call somebody, and they've got a directory there for you, or they want you to press 0. In that situation, you may want to disable call history so someone like me can't come in and kind of find the boss's number and do that. Additionally, down here, you've got intercom, whisper page, barge in, record, monitor. All these features are permissions based. This can get a little bit tricky in the sense that it depends on what group you're a member of and what group the other person's a member of if you can monitor, whisper, barge them. When you're trying to configure monitor, whisper, barge, maybe for the first time, please collaborate with us and kind of let us go with you on that side by side and set it up the way that you need to, and we'll explain to make sure it gets you exactly what you need to get. Down here at the bottom, allow current availability state change. We talked about that. Allow detail changes. We talked about that. Allow external call forwarding. All those can be turned on or off in the telephony permissions group. So that's what telephony permissions look like. Let's look at a minimally featured group. This is, again, a Mitel default group that comes in the box for minimally featured. As you can see, a lot of stuff is unchecked. The call stack size is smaller. It's only 2. They're only allowed 40 buddies per user. They're only allowed 500 contacts. They're only allowed 3 parties on a Make Me conference. Most of these things are unchecked. So again, a default group, minimally featured, that's kind of what it looks like. If you want to create your own group, I did one here for me because I'm doing all these demos. I basically checked everything, right? I just created a new group. Super easy to do. All you have to do, click New Telephony Permissions Group. You can name it whatever you like. We'll call it Mitel Training, June 2020. I can set everything I want, call stack, buddies, contacts, let's make this bigger. I can scroll, pick up. I can basically turn on everything. We call this the Christmas tree. So we're going to Christmas tree it, and we're going to put everything set to all. Now this group has kind of an everything permission. I click save. That's now the Mitel Telephony Permissions June 2020 group. Nobody's in it though. Right here it says user groups at the top that are in it. No user groups are assigned to this. I go to user groups to put those users into the permissions groups. So that's telephony permissions. Call permissions, we don't see a lot of changes in this one. I'll be frank with you. When we set it up initially, we collaborate with you to determine what you want to have as your call permissions. We set them up, and they're pretty much set it and forget it. The only exception would be if you find that you need to have somebody added to an international list. This happens occasionally where you've got users and you've blocked international because you want to avoid toll fraud and all kinds of other issues. So you essentially block it by default. So essentially no one dials internationally. Well, you can see here on ours, no one's set on this user groups. No one is set to international. But let's say you want to add somebody to it for a short period of time. You go, you put their user in a group, you drop them here. Now they can make international calls for whatever duration you need to. You can take them out. My recommendation is if you're not making a lot of international calls, and if it's rare, have everybody out of the group unless they need to make them. And the reason I say that is toll fraud. It's a common issue. We want to help you avoid that. So that's why international is set that way. Last thing I want to cover under class of service is voicemail permissions. Again, this is an issue where you might get a call from one of your team members and wonder why something's not working the way you expect, or wonder why the behavior isn't what you'd like. And I want to talk about what they are. So these voicemail permissions groups, large, medium, small, and no mailbox, those are defaults that come from Mitel out of the box. When we set up a system, we typically adjust it to your preferences. I want to talk about what a large mailbox is as an option, as an example, because I'm in that user group. And I'm going to zoom in on it here. So this is a large mailbox. Incoming message length of 480 seconds. So that's the max. Incoming max messages, 500. You can't go any higher than that. I don't know who'd want 500 voicemails anyway. I have seen these set as low as 10 or 15 voicemails. The issue is that if they don't delete their messages, they're going to run out of space. I'd typically recommend setting it, 20 to 50, kind of your call. I think by default lately we've been putting them at 50. Outgoing message length. Why would that matter? Well, let's say you've got a manager or an executive that likes to use broadcast voicemails to communicate with the team. Or maybe you want to do a virtual weekly team meeting. He wants to do it via voicemail. Now you can have a really nice long voicemail. Let me update you on the week, the day, the month. Send it to a group. That's what governs the length of that. Enable voicemail callback. Enable voicemail callback. I honestly don't see anybody using it, but what it allows you to do is if you get a voicemail escalation call to your cell phone and you want to be able to call them back without hanging up and dial them, that lets you do it. Allow access to voicemail distribution list. That's self-explanatory. Allow message notification options on or off. Allow it to an external number on or off. Allow downloading it to voicemail WAV files on or off. All that's there for you. So I'm going to save that, minimize it, and now you can see those are kind of your voicemail permissions. You can see that we've got a lot of people in here, me, Paul, the test user group, the training test, and the VCI users group. No mailbox, we have some as well. So we have some desk phone that have no mailbox. We have like a lobby phone that's got no mailbox. That's all there under no mailbox. So those are the class of service groups. Next thing I want to pivot to and talk about last here is to talk about auto attendant menus. I've had a lot of questions recently as all of us have been dealing with these unprecedented ramifications of COVID and everything that goes with it, lockdown, unlock, auto attendants have had to change quite a bit. So we've had a lot of calls. So I want to talk to you about what you can do in auto attendants. It's under features, auto attendant. Now this is going to show you all of your auto attendants, and then you can edit them. If you're in here, hopefully you know how the calls got there, because calls can get to auto attendants in several different ways. But I'm going to go to our Verteks main auto attendant. This is the auto attendant that answers whenever you dial our main number, on or off hours. On hours, we've typed in the greeting. This is what the greeting says. It's not a speech to text. You have to manually type it or copy and paste it in here. And here are all the options. Let me zoom in here for you. Here are all the options, 0 through pound. They had 0, it goes to this help desk IRN. What that means here in Verteks world is it goes to a call center. That's what that does. 1 does nothing. 2 goes to a sales hunt group. 3 goes to service. 4 goes to an accounting hunt group, which contains Tangerine and Cheryl. 5 also goes to the help desk IRN. Let's say you want to listen to what the recording sounds like. We had this professionally recorded by Worldly Voices. That's a service we can hook you up with. It's very affordable, super easy to use. They have great recordings. We can play that prompt, and it'll call my phone and let me answer it.
Thank you for calling Verteks Consulting, a leading provider of computer networks and telephone systems for business and government.
So that's what the recording sounds like at the very beginning. I think a lot of you have probably heard that. You can, from here, import new ones. You can, if you like, and the permissions are set up, you can record from a desk phone, however you like to do it. Off hours, here are the options. We have an emergency backup hunt group. We also have a general mailbox, and we have a hard down mailbox. That hard down mailbox is extension 1412. So what we do is if you call in after hours and you have a service emergency, you choose option 3 for hard down. It asks you to leave a message. When you do that, it's going to alert our on-call team, which is 3 of our team members plus a manager. And it's going to use an app that we have. We use one called PagerDuty. But it gets them the recording of the voicemail. It also gets them a transcription, and they can reply. Let's say I want to change it, and I want to have a hidden option for 5. Maybe 5 allows you to transfer to an extension, and I'll have it go to a group. Let's go to sales. I've got a sales hunt group. So if it's an after-hours sales emergency, never heard of it, but if there is, you hit 5. Now it's going to dial the after-hours sales. What I really want to focus on here, though, in auto attendants is just to remind you that they're very easy to change, but my recommendation is don't change them. What I always recommend doing is create a new one and try it first and then switch over to it. That's a much better way of handling it. The way I do it is I take the Verteks main auto attendant. You guys want to leave that page. And I create a copy right up here in the right-hand corner. And it's going to call it copy of the main AA, but all the settings are the same. I can save it. And now you'll see at the top up here, I've got a copy of Verteks main AA. This is the one I would recommend experimenting with, changing options on and trying it. Because you can see it's extension 1923. All I've got to do is go to my phone and dial 1923. It'll hit this auto attendant.
Thank you for calling Verteks Consulting.
I hear the menu, I hear the options, I can do all those things. Let's say I go to on hours. I want to change option 1 to transfer to an extension, and maybe I want it to go to, let's say, Matt and I. Let's pick on him. That's option number 1. I hit save. It's in there. Let's dial that auto attendant. I'm dialing that copy of VCI main AA.
Thank you for calling.
I get the main menu.
A leading provider.
I hit 1. What does it do? It dials Matt and I.
I transfer your call.
Epic fail. Matt is not available. But it did work. It called Matt. So once you've made all those changes and you've got it configured exactly the way you want, then you can reroute calls to the new auto attendant. So that's my little tip there. When you're editing an auto attendant, create a copy, edit the copy, test it, then when you're done, then flip over to the copy. So thank you for joining us today. That's all of our Mitel training content. I do want to remind you I will stick around for a few on the Q&A panel and on the chat panel and try to answer any questions that come in. We will edit this, post a copy on our YouTube channel. You can share it with your friends as a recorded webinar later. And then we are also really glad to add whatever content you want on a future training. Just send an email to me, dgulling@verteks.com, or send it to the help desk team or your favorite employee. Let them know to get it to me, and I'll add it to the agenda, and we'll cover it in our next Mitel training. Our next session is on July 21st, and you can register for that right on our website. It's at 2 p.m., so it's an afternoon one next time. Thanks for attending, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon.